Hello and welcome to the Thrive for Men podcast. Tonight I've got Tam Curtis with me. Thank you so much for joining us, Tam. Now, Tam is a thought leader, mentor and leadership expert in the masculine leadership and men's development space. He's spent his career working in male-dominated industries and has got an extensive amount of experience understanding and dealing with the impact that neglect has on men's mental and emotional health. So welcome, Tam. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, before we get started, just also want to say, as I always do, that nothing we say here negates anything towards women. Obviously, what we talk about here, women also experience. This is a podcast for men, Thrive for Men. So that's why we reference men specifically on this podcast. So let's get going, Tam. Now, I always say that I help men with performance, purpose, and power to regain that. Power is often quite misunderstood, especially nowadays, the word power, especially when it's referenced with men. Can you talk a little bit about that and your thoughts in regards to that, and especially in regards to how do men live in their power?
Yeah, it is a good question. It is misunderstood. Power. Usually the traditional, our thinking of power nowadays is to hold a position and to hold a rank or a title or something like that and to wield that as power. And power itself comes from many different places. We're always looking or always searching for ways to increase ourselves in power. So we can get power externally, as I said, from positions of power and things like that, which draws us men, which is why we like career and we like working in those types of things. That's the reason why we play sport too. We love to put our physical power to good use. But there's also internal power. And internal power is the strength that you build within yourself. So your emotional strength, your mental strength, health as well. Definitely health is a part of it, physical health. But our greatest strength or power that men possess is our ability to be able to control that.
Yes, that's brilliant. And Jordan Peterson often speaks about that, doesn't he? He says a dangerous man is a weak man. Yeah. Not the man who has the power but can control it.
Yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah, it is. It's a very, very good saying. He hit the nail right on the head with that one there. And like in today's society, you can get power from anywhere. You can ask for it, you can demand it, you can have your special moment in the sun when you go somewhere and stamp your feet like a spoiled little customer and everyone will run around after you. But that's not control, and that's not where men do their best work. Control of ourselves, it's at the end, that's our ultimate goal, is to be in control of ourselves. It doesn't matter what other things you achieve in life or the status that you have in life. If you lack self-control, you never enjoy any of it.
Absolutely. That's one of the most important takeaways already. There's a piece of gold right there. And what exactly, there's a lot of talk, especially lately, about masculinity, femininity. What is masculinity?
Yeah, well, let's start first with what it's not, because there has been a lot of talk out there and a lot of labels saying that masculinity is toxic, and well, that's definitely not true.
Oh yes, we hear toxic masculinity, that word, that phrase, don't we?
Yeah, or become a buzzword or something that a marketing ploy for want of a better word on that one. But there is nothing toxic about masculinity. Toxicity doesn't come from masculinity. It's personal character that's toxic. So that can apply to either gender.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
So it's and also like what masculinity also isn't is it's not related to sexual orientation or in fact it's not even related to gender, because both genders have forms of masculinity in it. It's just that men drive in masculinity a lot stronger. It's also nothing to do with culture or religion or personal beliefs or anything like that. It's definitely, it's something to do with what goes on the inside of us. And there is a layer underneath that, which I think we'll talk about a bit later on. But for a man to feel centered and secure in his own masculinity and to have a high degree of feelings of masculinity, it's his confidence, his competency, and his commitment to what he does. Those are three. That's how masculinity comes out in him. Like when you look at a masculine man, you say, oh, he's a very masculine kind of guy. You always see there's this confidence that goes with him. You can mistake some things like arrogance and conceitedness as being confidence. If that happens, but
only briefly.
Yeah, only briefly. Once you figure them out, like us men do too. I mean, women
there's
do
a quiet confidence in a truly masculine man, isn't there? It's almost a knowing in himself.
That's right. Yeah, it's the knowledge of himself and feeling comfortable in that.
And then you find that, like anyone, when they shine within themselves, people tend to sort of bask in their warmth and feel comfortable around them.
Yes, that's the strength. That's their personal strength. And people gravitate towards people who are strong. And when they do that, and forms a part of all types of leadership. So when that person has that confidence and they bring that strength out and all that, it's the strength in them that you feel, which gives you that belief in them. And it's people follow that, And when people are following you for those traits or whatever other traits it might be that they're following you for, that's power.
Absolutely. And I think a big word for me is authenticity. Now, I don't know whether that's because of social media or what it is, but I don't see that many people that are truly authentic these days. So when I do see them and do know them, obviously I'm very drawn to them and what they're saying, whether I agree or not, because they have a truth about them and an authenticity. So that leads me to, as you said before, confidence within a man. That also comes from purpose. What's happened to a lot of our men in society and in our community that they feel like they've lost their purpose?
Yeah, purpose and direction.
And how do we help them?
Purpose and direction. I can't remember the name of a poet, or was he a politician? And he says, a man without purpose and direction is like a ship without a rudder, a waif, a no man. It was a brilliant quote, absolutely brilliant quote. And he's absolutely right in what he says. Like our purpose and direction, men are very external creatures. So we like to live our lives externally, seeing outside of ourselves, and our purpose and our direction and where we're going. That's exactly what we're viewing. If we've got somewhere to go and something to do, we've got our direction, we've got our purpose where we can live physically, and we can do that. So we need to achieve that right throughout our lives. We need to have something to work towards always. In fact, right to the day that we die. The day that we pass away, we need a purpose and direction. So there are life stages that we go through when we do this. Is that a German psychologist, I think this was back in the 30s or 40s, Erik Erikson, and he developed out the 8 stages of life cycle development from when you're a child up to a baby, and then 5 to 7, somewhere around there. And we move to this middle age period, so around about the 45 years, and we get these questions that come to us. We used to call them the midlife crisis years ago for men. And that question is, what is our purpose and what is our direction? What is our purpose on this earth and what is our direction? And that's individual to each person. That's individual to each man, what that question exactly sounds like. So, answering that question, you have to answer that question. How do we do that? Well, we need to open up that discussion and firstly find out, what is a man? Yeah. What is it about us that makes us who and what we are, that drives us, right? That fills out, or that gives us that need to do and to be and to feel masculine. Those things that aren't going to change in us for tens of thousands of years. We're looking at things that are very deep, very biological, very intrinsic in us. When we have an understanding of that, we know what we're working with. when we know what we're working with, we can design what our purpose is, because we've struggled for purpose. Well, we know it over the last at least 20 years anyway. That question has been there.
Well, why do you think that's happened? What have we done that has set this narrative off of, men feeling, well, the narrative certainly has, the pace has changed, especially over the last few years. And, the way in which we're speaking about men. But what's happened over the last 20 or so years that men are feeling like they've lost their purpose? And, I know a lot of men who are also feeling quite confused about their role in society. And
yes, right.
and we're even, we've been saying to men for a long time now, we don't need you, we want you. A woman doesn't need you, we want you. Because a woman can do everything now on her own. And so I really feel like a lot of my male friends are a little bit, confused at where they're meant to be in the community.
Yeah, even very successful people who you think have it all and have absolutely everything in life still have that same question. So it's very much, for our gender, it's very much that midlife crisis, right? That midlife question. So what's our purpose and meaning? So, but it goes back many, many, many thousands of years, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years. We've reached a point in our evolution where biologically us men have done what we were built to do. We've created a society, we've protected it, we have all the resources we could ever want, so we've provided, we've created what we were built to do, and we've done it to such a degree and such a level that we don't need to do that now. A woman or even a man can simply go to the government and the government will give it to them. It doesn't require a man to do that for you. That's fine. That's good. There's jobs there available. You want to go and get some money to provide for yourself. Now she can go do that. Not a problem. And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
There are people who are painting such things as a bad thing. I've heard men say, "Oh, women should get back in the homes and have babies and that sort of stuff."
I hear that a lot.
Yeah, I hear that a lot too. As if they think that's the answer, is to let's go backwards.
Yeah.
It's like, for us men, it's man, let's celebrate firstly the fact that we did this. Not just men, but women as well. But men were the main crux of creation.
Absolutely.
What stands before us.
Who built the buildings? Who built the bridges? Yeah.
So we should celebrate that, men. Don't turn away and say that this whole creation is bad and it's evil. It's not. We did a very, very good job, and we should be proud of ourselves and proud of our gender. Now we reached that.
We did an excellent job. Maybe too good a job.
Yeah, maybe too good a job. But hey, what that does for us men is that frees us up to choose where we're going next.
Yes. So what would you say to a man who was just saying, look, I don't enjoy my job. My relationship is broken down. I don't have a purpose. I'm just turning up, going through the motions every day and coming home.
Yeah, that's a bad place to be in.
Yeah.
There are
and there are so many men.
There are so many. I would suggest that there are more men going through that than not.
I would agree.
Yeah, I've been there too. And that raised the question, what's my meaning? What's my purpose? What do I want? What do I want from life? And it's a really valid question. So for most men, actually, they've arrived at that point in time where they've got all the resources that they need set in place, and really they're the family's probably mostly grown, if not grown up and moved away. And now they want to know what they're going to do with their life, because again, they've fulfilled their purpose.
Exactly.
Yep, they've fulfilled their purpose. So what's next? So this is the conversation where I really get into what it means to be a man. Yes. So now you're at that time of your life where you get to work on you, and you get to make the best you that you want to. So I don't advocate the midlife crisis thing, go buy yourself a sports car, divorce the wife, chuck it all in, get yourself a blonde model sitting beside you. And that's terrible. Don't do that, gentlemen. Do not do that. Okay. What you want to be doing is you want to be working on making yourself the strongest you can be.
Absolutely.
You want to build your powers. Right, not the external powers of position and money and all that. You've done that work. Leave that to that. It's the internal powers, because us men, we have the capability to grow throughout our lives, to become stronger. But there comes a point in our life where we need to start giving that back, and that's the next stage along. We need to be mentoring men and mentoring younger people in our wisdoms and our maturity. So helping them grow in a right way. Now, this really, we should have started this somewhere probably around about 30 to 35. We should have started those questions and asking ourselves what our purpose is going to be once we finally give up working. What's our purpose going to be once we finally give up working? Because a lot of those men that you'll find who are broken and who are fading away have finished their working career. And you would find that generally their wife has left them because she wants to get up and go moving, and he's a bit broken and has no purpose. He doesn't know what he wants to do. He's got no idea. So if we start this conversation with men, and we start it with young men early, what are you going to be after 45, 50, past that midlife age? What are you going to develop yourself in? Because when you're older, what are you going to give back? Because us men, we like to give, we like to do. We love to build.
You're very, very good at providing in many ways, not just for the household, but you're so good at solving problems for everyone and delivering on solutions and finding someone to help and going about doing that and making everything right. Men are so good at that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we are. It's one of the things that drives us. So it forms a part of creation, and we love that.
Yeah.
We love to create. And so that's one of the avenues that we can look at about ourselves, developing ourselves to be able to give back to. It might be, it should be families, to our children, to our grandchildren, help to raise our grandchildren. We love playing with our grandchildren.
Yeah.
So
or it could be the local footy club, or just mentoring a young guy that might not have found his way. Absolutely.
Right, not-for-profit organisations,
exactly.
They're always looking for help. There's lots of avenues and the ways that we could give back.
We've sort of set them up for failure, though, haven't we? Because society is, you work for this long, then you stop working, and your work is your purpose, whether you like it or not. Then you stop working, and then there you go. You sit and you can do whatever you want. And that's not how humans or men work, because men do need purpose.
Yeah.
And we're basically saying, well, at 65, we'll take your purpose away from you and you can just sit in a chair.
Yeah, and vegetate for the rest
exactly. Well, that's not what people want.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I mean, we must keep moving. We must keep progressing. We must keep moving forward. Look, I think in that way, we kind of placed a bit too much on the government to do that for us. It's like the government really is just an administration system. We look at to our governments for guidance on all sorts of things. Really, they're just there to administrate a society. That's all they do. Who leads and controls societies? Well, it's our teachers and our philosophers and thought leaders and all those people who are able to give value to people through their knowledge or maybe through their skills or whatever. So we're the ones who should be leading that conversation. The government takes you've got to do your superannuation, so let's make sure you've got enough when you're 65 that you're not living in a cardboard box under a bridge or something like that.
Yeah.
Wonderful. But that's the limit where we should leave them. That's all they're good for. Yeah. We've got to pick up this.
So glad you brought that up. That is something that we don't speak about enough, that we're the ones who need to step up and create the society that we want to be in, not allow the government or anyone else to tell us how it's going to be.
Yeah, because look, they're doing the best that they can with the limited resources that they've got.
Exactly.
We can't add more to it. And
there's so many men out there that have so much experience and knowledge and value to offer.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's right. And we should be speaking it now like women, they have no problem telling the government what they want. And the government changes the laws, puts things in places. And it's like, just because the woman said, we need this. Cool.
There you go.
But us men, we're like, no, we'll wait on that. It's no
yeah,
wonder.
Well, I'll just think about that for the next 20 years. Hang on.
Yeah, we really need to start talking to the government and telling the government what our needs are too, so that the government can put things in place. They're just an administrator, but we need to run that conversation. We need to find those answers. We need to create that philosophy of what it means to be male, and we need to speak what it is that we need. We need to speak it. Nobody. The government's not going to hear silence. They're not going to know what we need through silence.
That's actually a brilliant point, because I'm, as you know, very much as you are in the men's health space, and I don't see any discussion happening about what men need to be asking for from the government.
Yeah.
And I do know the discussion about women certainly receive a certain amount of help from the government, and men perhaps not so much in certain areas. But is that then because the government are not aware of what
absolutely.
the men need?
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard these stories that it's a government conspiracy to keep men down. I don't believe that at all. It's just that women are more willing to say, hey, we need this. And the government says, right, health services here. There you go.
Yep.
And men say nothing. Say absolutely nothing.
And then how can anyone possibly know if you're not going to say anything?
How can they? That's right. Yeah. There's nothing there for the government to work with. So we have to have this conversation, and we have to say what we need. But we need to be very poignant in doing that, because as we know, with the government's resources are stretched quite thinly. So having this conversation and deciding and actually figuring out, right, what exactly we are, what we're built to do, and designing lives, healthy lives and healthy paths, purpose and direction, and moving towards it, we're better able to get funding and use it properly and put it in the right areas, rather than some trial, maybe we're not men, maybe we're 50-50 men and women, let's do a trial on this type of rubbish thinking.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Now, you and I both agree that men in the past perhaps have not been taught the strategies and tools to be able to deal with their emotions in a healthy way that suits them. And there are numerous ways to deal with emotions in a healthy way.
Yeah.
There are literally thousands, as you know, that will suit someone. There's ways that will suit everyone individually, and healthy ways.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about, there's a lot of discussion at the moment about vulnerability, a lot of discussion about men needing to open up. Can we discuss vulnerability and opening up? What does this mean for men?
Yeah, vulnerability. No man likes to be vulnerable. It's a feeling of weakness, and we don't do well when we feel weak.
Yeah.
So it's not that we shouldn't open up and show our vulnerabilities. It's just what would make it easier is understanding what is vulnerability to us. Well, we know how women speak about their vulnerabilities and those sorts of things, and that feeling is suitable for a female. But the feeling of vulnerability is very, very different for a male, and how we think about it and how we deal with it is very different. Like we were talking before, boys will get together and we'll talk about things in our lives, and we're quite happy to open up, a wee bit to our friends, and we're happy with it. We get some answers and we're satisfied, and we'll go on. I think it's the level of vulnerability, or not just the depth, I mean the breadth of vulnerability.
Yeah.
We don't like feeling weak for very long. We like to get back on our feet and feel strong straight away. So we do vulnerability more like in bite-sized chunks.
Yes.
So we'll have a talk about one problem with our mates, and that'll do for them. We'll have a beer, and then we'll go home, and we'll sit on it for a wee while.
Yes,
we'll
men sit on it, don't they? They process differently than women. So the strategies that women have been taught don't suit men.
Not at all.
Exactly.
Not
So
at all.
I feel like we often try and push a lot of the same strategies to deal with things on people, whether that be man or woman. We push certain strategies on everyone. And as I said before, not very succinctly, that there are literally thousands of strategies, but you have to find the ones that suit you and are healthy for you. But they are different from man to woman.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very much so. Very much so. Women love to pour their hearts out. Absolutely love to pour their hearts out. And that's really healthy for them. So, very good on them. Good on them, I say. Men, we don't do that.
No.
No, that's something. If a man is being like that, there is something seriously wrong for him, and he needs more than the support that his friends can give him.
Yeah.
Needs more than he'll need some form of medical help. When he ends up in that. When we're talking about tragedies, death in the family, something like that's completely understandable.
Absolutely.
Right? Our agenda should be
100%.
will be completely that way. But to have the best thing I can describe it as a complete and full meltdown. We men don't do well that way. If we've accumulated difficulties or problems along the way that we haven't dealt with, to end up like that, it's a mental health issue for us then at that point, and it needs medical attention. I'm not saying that it's that way of all men. Some men can do that sort of thing, but generally, us men, we like to solve problems as they arise. So it's a reason why we're so quiet and women won't understand that. We're just chewing over a problem.
Exactly. You're just processing.
Yeah, we're just processing.
Yeah.
And once we've processed it and we've dealt with it, it's like, that's it. It's done. I don't need to hear from that problem ever again.
It's brilliant how men do that because, you go and you take the information in, you go and process, and then once you've made your decision, that's it. Yeah. Whereas, a woman might need to say, well, but hang on, what do you think about that option? And what do you think about that? And a man will say, I've thought about it, I've processed it. This is my option.
Yep. This is what I'm doing.
That'll be it.
That's that. Yeah.
It's right.
We're built that way. That's the way we're built. It's because of our external world, because we live in the external world, us men, all the time. And it's like when you're out there and you have to make a decision, you have to make a decision. So process it quickly, make a decision, go and do it.
Yeah. And
so it's one of the key things I can in my time I've interpreted in men. It's when they're you can tell a man who has strong conviction or who understands himself well. It might take him a wee while to process some things that he wants to figure out, but when he's made his decision, that's what he's doing. That's that confidence. I was
about to say, and that's what we love.
Yeah.
Because it means we can trust that man.
Yeah.
He's dependable and he's steady.
That's right.
It's a really important trait. I think.
Yeah, that's that strength and that power that he has that draws people to him, because he has something. Like he may have, he has a piece of knowledge, or he knows something, and people want to know that. That's what that confidence and that strength brings out in you. Now, imagine a man who's worked all his life, just did his job, paid the bills, raised the children, comes to 65, sits on the couch, hasn't done anything to work on himself throughout his life. You can imagine what that kind of man is going to be like. Probably pretty frail of body and not very. His character's not going to speak very well of him when he does talk. He's going to.
No, often lashes out at people and
could be, or he's very timid and doesn't offer anything. And that's a person
sits in the corner and just doesn't say anything, because it's better not to say anything than to get attacked or
Yeah, because he's scared.
Yes,
he's weak and he's scared. You know? But then you get the man. He's like, well, not the outrageous type of man, big and loud, and because there's plenty of those, and I actually believe some of them have some very serious, deep
often
problems.
I see people like that, and I think there's a lot of insecurities going on there. That's not real strength. They're insecurities wanting to be fed.
Yeah, that's right. But like you said before, when you meet someone who is actually genuinely strong and powerful on the inside, and they don't even have to talk, it's in their eyes, just in the way that they carry
It's
themselves.
that X factor when a woman or man walks in a room and you look around, or you can feel their energy and their presence before they've entered. They just have an energy about them that people think, wow, I want to be around that.
Yeah, that aura of strength.
Yes.
And power.
And that because they just know who they are. And I think that's missing so much in society.
Yeah.
That when you don't have it, you look at it and you think, oh, I would love that.
Yeah.
I would love to know who I am.
Yeah. It's one of those things that it's like leadership. It's the same as leadership. You can be easily fooled by fake leadership. You can be easily fooled by it. But when you see true, genuine leadership and true, genuine strength, you can't deny it. That's what you're seeing. You know it in your heart. You know it in your mind. It's just undeniable. It 100%. Just has a ring of truth to it. And the energy, you're just drawn to that type of person. You want to know, what do you know? What have you got? And like,
exactly. What have you got?
What have you got? I want. For most people, for most people who are going to follow a person like that, there is this bit of selfishness inside them, because it is just that, what have you got that I can gain off you? And for a strong person, like that's not a bad thing. Like I said, to strong men or even strong women, when you get to that age, you want to give back.
Absolutely.
Because you're building a society, you're building a tribe, and the stronger you make your tribe or your troop or your brood, whatever you want to call it, the more it pays back to you. So it's in the dominance hierarchy. So there's it's a reason why men should develop their powers right throughout their life, and we should mentor young men and women to be able to grow those powers, to know what they are. So for us, what that feeds into is our intelligence, our maturity, and our wisdom.
That's awesome.
Those are the things that we're looking to build, but they come with a lot of experience and time and experience. So people wanting to have it all right now, it's not possible. It's not possible.
Which is today's society with social media and
that's right.
And that leads me to my next question. Well, my question was going to be, how have the last 3 years impacted men specifically? But further to that, with the rise of social media, which I think has even more so happened over the last few years, I am seeing a lot of men with many more body image issues than ever before. And they're actually putting it down to what they see on social media. So how do you think the last few years have impacted men, and how do you think social media has impacted men? Because we know it's previously impacted women, but now we're seeing it in men.
Yeah, so over the last 3 years, and probably a wee bit more than that question has come out. What is a man and what is he good for? It's like, how has that impacted us men? It's actually raised some really important questions for us. And I know that some of those questions being put out there are by some quarters who intend to gain from it for their own purpose. Well, fine, however that may be. You can't put a question out there and confuse somebody unless there was already some confusion in them. So there was obviously something that was waiting in there for us to answer that we were already ignoring, or not aware of, is probably a better way of putting it. And somebody just made us aware of the question. Okay. So is
that like saying we only see in others what we see in ourselves?
That would be
along the same lines.
Well, that'll be a part of that in it, but it's more like the question we were ignoring, that we didn't think to ask of ourselves, that we didn't actually have an answer.
So it's always been sort of sitting there in our gut, but now it's being brought to the surface.
It's been asked, because it's important to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's important to us, and now it's necessary for us to ask that question, and that's a good thing. People are saying, "Oh, it's bad of them to say that." I think it was necessary. It was always going to happen. Like we were talking about before, we've reached this point in society where we've done all those things that men need to do to create a self-sustaining society that gives us what we need. It's there. You just have to do a bit of work for it. And now it's like, well, okay. So the next thing is, well, what use are you then? So that is the question. But what has that done to us? It's really made us look quite hard at ourselves and ask, well, what is our purpose? What are we? What are we going to do now? Great question. Great question. So, again, what are we going to do? We're going to find some answers about what we should be in the future.
But these are discussions we need to be openly having, aren't they? This is not something.
Well, yeah, I like having discussions around things. That's good. What I would like to see is men bring philosophies to the table, because I've been involved in many conversations where it was about men's mental health or about men's issues and that sort of thing, and we had a discussion, and it just went round and round in circles about the same thing that went nowhere. It's I would have preferred if people had brought their personal philosophy for it and put it on the table. This is what men should be doing. This is what we should be going. And these are the reasons why I think that is. I've had some.
And then you can create something from that instead of just talking about it.
Yeah, well, shared philosophies, they double your intelligence on the subject.
Absolutely.
And so it puts you on a new way of thinking, which is also very important to men, by the way. How we think about things and how we process things, it's really important. But anyway, we're carrying on.
And how do we give that to men? The world has, obviously for the entire world, the last 3 years have been very different than anything many of us have experienced before.
Yeah.
So with isolation, with less face-to-face, with a change in roles, with all sorts of things happening in the world. What has that done to men? Has that impacted men?
Oh, yeah, mentally. Yeah, mentally. I think if I was to pick one thing that men should look at in regards to that, is it's challenged how we think.
Okay.
So our thinking processes, because I think our thinking processes, while it's increased in the amount of things that we think about, how we process them seems to be, I would say, different nowadays, the way that we process them. See, men process things in a very, very particular way, because there are certain things that we need, or certain things that are values to us. Yeah, truth, reality. What else?
They're like when I see men processing, it's like pieces of a puzzle. And they can't complete the whole process without all the pieces of the puzzle.
That's right.
And when they're struggling to process and finalize something, it's because they don't have one of those pieces. So they'll seek out the piece until they have it, and then it can all go together like a puzzle.
Yeah. Those thinking processes are called skimmers.
Yeah.
And so we used to boys used to be taught it by their fathers, because life was really simple. So your father would take you out hunting, or he would teach you how to build a house.
Yeah.
Now, he wouldn't just say, put this one up there, bang a nail, and he'd tell you why, and he'd tell you all the bits and pieces and how he does it this way because it does this for it and it makes it a stronger home and that sort of thing. Or then teaching him how to skin. I start from here and I bring the skin down across this way and with my knife and that sort of stuff.
And this is why, because if I do it that way, then this happens, and we don't want that. Yeah.
But what the father or even grandfather was helping the young man to do was build skimmers, ways of doing things in his mind. But it's a way of thinking. Because there is a good way of doing something, and there's a million terrible ways to do something. So the father is trying, and the grandfather is trying to give him a way of doing something. Where you go from there after that, son, that's up to you.
Yeah.
You try, and there's the basics. You try. It's the skimmers going on in his mind. Nowadays, especially with social media and how social media affects us, there are so many crazy ideas about you can be whatever you want in life. No, you can't. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous notion that you can be whatever you want in life. It's simply not true. It's some people will never win the 100-meter race at the Olympics. It is impossible for that to happen. And even if you fed them with enough drugs, performance-enhancing drugs, they would never be able to win the 100-meter race at the Olympic Games. That's absolutely
true. But now we say to kids, if you try hard enough, you can be whatever you want. And I'll also give you a medal just for trying, just for being part of it.
And because Jordan Peterson is
I'm not a fan of the participation trophy, because I think participating is the trophy. You know what I mean? Like partaking in it is the reward.
Yeah, it is. It should be for every child, because it's where they get to find out who they are.
Exactly. That's the journey, being part of it, living through experience. That's living. Not through a screen.
So
sorry, I interrupted you. My apologies. You said Jordan Peterson said.
Jordan Peterson opened that narrative or that subject up, that people can't be whatever they want to be in life, and he actually even had the factual evidence to back it up, and he was looking at IQ testing. IQ testing, and the rate of job that you would be capable of doing for the level of IQ that you had. And it was scary, actually. It was really, really scary, some of it. There are 10% of people in this world who are not capable of undertaking any job, even menial tasks. 10%.
Okay, now I'm going to have to look up this research now.
Yeah.
That seems a lot to me.
Yeah, I know. That, to me, it blew me away. It absolutely blew me. 10%.
And not capable of any task.
Yeah, not capable of undertaking it. Doing it in a sufficient manner to be deemed competent.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That surprised me.
Not even menial tasks. But when he's talking about that, he goes into more than just that their IQ is at a level that they can't think through the processes. There could be a lot of other things going on in there too that he didn't allude to. Emotional state. It could be even their own personal schemes, how they put things together inside their own mind. Might be concentration or focus. They might have a mental illness or a mental disease. So who knows?
Yeah.
It's a lot that goes on.
So there are a lot of components that.
Yeah, I think there are. He didn't allude to it in any way, but I'm pretty sure he would. If I was to say that to him, he would agree that there was a lot more going on than just that they had an IQ below 86. I think the average is. Yeah.
Okay. And what's one more thing that you think social media is impacting men in a negative way? I think it's. I would bring up body image. These.
Because us men aren't mentoring men anymore in what is healthy for us. They're getting their ideas off social media and TV and movies and things like that. And so, but we can't blame social media and we can't blame TV for it.
No, because we can turn them off and not look.
Well, yeah, that's right, but it's the job of media to sell what sells.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and we buy it. It's like, it's a shame that the human mind is built that way, because it's easy to take advantage of. It's very, very easy to take advantage.
Marketing people are incredibly clever, aren't they? And the people that build apps, incredibly clever. Getting that dopamine hit after dopamine hit, and incredibly clever.
That's right. Yeah. Until that point where either the dopamine hit isn't as strong as you need to go looking for something else, or that you simply can't keep up with that anymore, being able to do that body imaging stuff. Like, we all get older and your fitness gets harder and the weights get heavier, and like, we do love doing that, us men, but even, we can't live there forever either, doing that sort of stuff. So, people say, social media is to blame. Well, it's human nature, really. It's, if we're developing. Or the other thing that goes along with that is, of course, is the IQ stuff too, and a person's experience of life. If they're low IQ would make people, not low IQ, I shouldn't really say it that way, but it makes people susceptible, vulnerable to accepting information that isn't true, or is virtually impossible. And our society, I think our average IQ is coming down. I think that is the case.
Well known. Yeah,
it's lowering all the time, and because of the use of social media. So
because we're not questioning anymore. We've turned, at school, when my parents were always question everything, be curious, just ask questions. I was probably one of those annoying children who, why? But I think we've lost that as we've gotten older, or as society's gone on. And you're right, I think we do just accept whatever information's going in, instead of saying, well, hang on, well, who's telling me that? Why are they telling me? Who did the research? Who's funding it? All of these questions that I think would lead to us being a lot less judgmental. If we were more curious about each other, I think we would judge each other less.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. We would definitely judge each other less, but judging is a natural human trait. It's actually natural in every animal, and we do it. We judge a lot about people as when we're doing it unconsciously. That is to say, we're not controlling our thinking actions and that
in the first few moments.
Yeah, in those first few moments. And like a conscious person will catch themselves and say, oh, I really shouldn't be thinking like that about that person, and turn their mind to something else. We all think we do it, but even the most acute and attuned people in their own mind still do it. We're still
absolutely
to it.
So you know what I'd love to see, though, if we I think the judging first up is natural, but I think I would love to see, when we disagree with people, instead of just shutting them down and judging them from our point of view, I would love to see people just ask more questions, especially on social media, because it can get a bit nasty. Why do you think that? What's led you to come up with that conclusion? Instead of, you're an idiot and here's my opinion. It would be great if we could be more curious about, well, what makes you think that?
Yeah, that's a thinking process that is gone. It used to be, in fact, it wasn't even taught in schools. I remember my father talking about it, that any time they open their mouth to question something, they get a rap across the knuckles with the ruler. So it's kind of bred into us, and I think that's kind of lingering over from those from yesteryear, that kind of behaviour, where in social media, when social media came in, it's like the doors got thrown open. And you could ask whatever you want and say whatever you want on social media, but nobody stopped to think that, when I'm doing this, am I actually consciously thinking about what's coming out of my keyboard? Am I conscious about what's coming out of my mouth? Am I conscious about what I'm actually thinking about, or am I just taking the first thing that comes into my mind and thinking that that's true? Because that's the problem with judgment. So judgment comes from two different places. It's called our system 1 and system 2 thinkings. So our system 1 is the front of our brain, and it's the instant answer. So when we need to make a decision, and so going back years ago, when something used to jump out of the bushes, we had to make a quick decision. Are we going to run away, or are we going to fight this thing, whatever it may be? So we needed quick decision, and quick decisions do our mundane, everyday things. Like, when you're driving down the road and you're driving to work, and you hear the song come on and you're singing away inside your head, and next thing you know, you're pulling up in the car park at work, and it's like,
you think, how did I get here? I forgot how I drove here.
Yeah, your system 1's just taking over, and it's just doing the mundane task, while your system 2 is sitting in the background singing the song. So, but our system 2 is a lot slower in its thinking process. It's very, very deliberate, and most people live in their system 1, because when we're looking at devices, it's totally system 1. And we spend so much time on them, and we don't get outdoors anymore as much as we used to, and travel for purpose, or travel for experience as much as we used to. The whole world is traveling. They're traveling for business. Is what they're doing. They're traveling for business, and even holidays are a business. So it's almost like you're getting a false impression of the real world. But we live inside this fake world where we don't actually have to make any true judgment on it. So those real processes in the back of our brain, well, they're not redundant, but we don't listen to them because they're easy to drown out. Right, system one will drown them out because our system one, it's all the senses are coming in and it's giving you the dopamine hits and all those sorts of things. So your system two in the background gets drowned out. So that when they're meditating and when they're getting into that, right deep inside themselves, really what they're doing is they're clearing the system one and they're letting the system two speak to them. And it's loud and it has some really, really great ideas because you have a lot of intuition in the inside of you because you've had a lot of experiences, a lot of different things. And when we get intuition, it's just our system two getting information and giving it back to us and saying, here, this is how you should be dealing with that situation. It's just that little nagging thing in the back of your head, you know. But we drowned it out with other things. So, to take that time take your time, give yourself some time and space before you make a decision. And what will happen, you will find, is that any quick emotions that going on the inside of you, if you give it a bit of time, they'll settle, right? They'll soothe and settle down, and that voice will come back through to you. It's like, maybe now I should do this instead of doing that. Maybe I should stay away from doing that, or maybe we shouldn't go there. That little voice in the back of your head.
Absolutely. Another consequence of living through a screen instead of living through real life. Yeah,
that's what social media has really, it's really been harmful in that kind of way. However, if there's lots of really good information online that is really worth watching and indulging into. A lot of psychology and philosophy. Yeah. There's a lot of junk, but there's a lot of really good information online. And so if we were using it for that purpose, then all power to you, go for it. I say do more of it. Absolutely get into it. But if you're using it,
just scroll TikTok and
just so you can switch off and not think, then it's really bad for you. But then in saying that, hey, you've got to have a purpose and direction for using it. So
that's right. But it is interesting though that and sorry, we're getting a little bit off track here, but it is interesting that so many people say, but I use it to relax. And I'll often say, I completely understand, but it does the opposite to your body. Yeah. So you think you're relaxed, but you're actually not. And you're depleting your dopamine system. You're depleting your chemicals. Yeah. And when you wake up in the morning, you're going to be feeling like crap and you're going to be needing another hit. So, let's add in some other ways to help ourselves. So, social media is an interesting beast, and we could probably just have a podcast on that.
I think so.
But now let me ask you, I get asked this quite often, why am I in the men's health space? So I have my own reasons to be inspired, to be wanting to help men. But where do you see women in the men's health space? Can women help men?
Oh, yeah. Women are necessary in the men's health space. And it's not just from the fact that they're there, is that we need a different way of looking at things as well. A woman's perspective is just as important as a man's. So women, us men, we can get together and we can end up seeing things from the same point of view and end up confusing ourselves, where a woman, she thinks completely differently, and she can come in and say, well, did you think about it like this? Oh, actually, no, we didn't think about it like that. So it is necessary. And I know that, women don't like men being in the woman's development space. They don't like it. They prefer to get it from women. But us men, I don't, apart from a few on the fringes of it, I don't think us men really care. All we want is the information.
You just want the results. You want the help.
Yeah, well, you give us the truth and you show us reality, and you show us some results from you, then okay, so you've got something. We'll listen to you and we'll listen to what you have to say. We're probably not going to say anything. We'll go away and we'll think about it and chew it over.
Yeah, you'll do your processing.
We'll do our processing. Yeah, but we'll be back. If we like what you've got and we like what the female's saying, we'll be back. I don't know why women are saying that women shouldn't be in the men's space. They absolutely should be. And I think men should be in the women's space too. But
absolutely. We've got a lot to offer each other.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Hey,
thank you for saying that.
Yeah, it's not women and men, or
exactly
those women over there and us men over here.
Well, how did this division start? It was never meant to be here, and we're meant to be in a community together. We're designed to work well together.
We're designed to be together. Our existence relies on each other. It's we were built to be together,
and we do really well off each other. It's understanding each other more and helping each other to be our best. Isn't that the best way forward?
Oh, that's the
Instead
best partnership in the world.
Men, women, they're different. They're in that corner, and when you go to the parties or the barbecues and the women are over, and I always think, what's going on here? Let's all just talk together.
I like that concept more. Let's all just get around and talk together. It's I've many good female friends. I love talking to them, love laughing with them. It's brilliant to get them in the conversation and to see how they see things, and it's much better when we do it together. It's much better.
Now with final question, men's health literacy, ability to say yes, I do need to go to the doctor, ability to say I'm going to put my hand up and that probably is a little bit too painful. I probably do need some help. Or knowing or understanding what their body's telling them. Whether you're a CEO or a prime minister or a train driver, it doesn't matter. Men's health literacy is not where we need it to be. So how do we help that?
Might need a bulldozer on that one, I think. Might need a bulldozer. We can be quite stubborn creatures, and even though we know we have health concerns, we will ignore them. So I'm not sure if it's so much the literacy about the need to seek medical attention when things aren't right. It's the shame and embarrassment about not being as strong as I should be. So the stigma around it, but it's not an external stigma done by friends, family, society, whatever. It's definitely that internal stigma. It's the way in which we talk to ourselves about that or feel about it, because it's...
Is it because you're such good fixers and you should be able to fix this problem within yourself?
It's because we should be strong, almost like the superhero strong. Never a problem with me. I can handle it. I'll get through this. I'll just tough it out. It'll come right. We'll be right. So the human body is quite can be quite frail. Depending, and everybody, even the biggest, toughest guys, is susceptible to injury and viruses and
absolutely mental health challenges and stress and emotional health. Absolutely. I injured myself recently and played it down, and someone actually said to me, "You're acting like a bloke."
Oh, jeez.
And I said, "That's awesome." They said, "No, I don't mean it as a compliment. I don't mean it in a good way."
Oh, gee. Well, hey, that's what us blokes do, but it's just not good enough anymore. It's
really not, because prevention, as you know, there are so many illnesses that are preventable. But we need to be self-aware enough to do something about it.
What's the answer to helping men through that type of feeling? I'm not really too sure on that. Well, that is to say, I haven't sat down and thought that one through to any great degree, but I certainly know.
Do you think men have enough information about it? I mean, obviously there's information everywhere. But who knows? If you look on the internet, who knows what information is right and what's not?
We know. In fact, if there was less information, we'd probably be better off about it, because
I think so too.
Most men would be to go and research what they think might be the problem, to be overwhelmed by all that information. Because, like I said, we like the truth. So to read through a bunch of articles that are just talking rubbish, You get the 99% is rubbish and the 1% is any good. It's not really something we do. It's like you get through 1, 2, maybe 3 articles, we're done.
That's it. Yeah.
We're finished. Yeah. And so I think the only knowledge we need is really, if something doesn't feel right, go see your GP.
Absolutely.
If we kept it to that short narrative, you don't need to talk about what it is, but if you feel something's not right, go and see your GP.
Yeah.
And leave it at that. Right? That's the only information we need. Go and see the GP.
Go and see an expert.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Make it as easy as possible for us. Go and see the GP.
Now, what would you like to leave with?
Ooh.
Before I'm going to ask you then how you help men and how men can get in touch with you. But what do you think? I mean, obviously, you could probably mention 10 things that you think are important to leave on. But what are maybe 1 or 2 that you think are really important?
Okay. One is, would definitely be designing a development for yourself for life.
Yeah.
So from this point forward, if you don't already have areas in your life where you feel you need development, and I don't mean in your financial life or in your gaining more resources or a better job or a higher paying job or anything like that. I mean self-development, the very essence of you and who you are. You should be doing that research. If you're a middle-aged person and you're having questions, you should start your research now. You should start it right now. You will find great benefits in just researching what is self-development for men. You will find many articles, you'll find many places or organizations around the world to help you with that. On top of that, once you start learning about self-development, what your needs are and where you want to go, you have to start developing a masculine philosophy. Because we can do self-help on top of self-help on top of self-help, and it ends up going nowhere. If you don't have a philosophy for what you want to be as a man in your life,
and action and how to action that,
build a timeline. All right, build a timeline of it. You can put your personal development on the timeline. When you get to 65 years of age and it's time to retire, right, what's the man you want to be? What is that man and who do you want to be? What do you want him to look like? What does he dress like? What does he do with his family? What does he do with his time? So you need to develop a philosophy of what it means to be a man and where you want to be in life. That way we always have a purpose and a direction for where we're going.
I love that. You've got a set of standards that you live by.
Oh, yes, there's another one. Yes, although I won't speak about them here, but what are values, morals, virtues, and ethics to a man?
Yeah.
What are our values and our morals? What do we value? What are our morals? What are our virtues? And what are our ethics? That's a really good conversation. We'll have that another time.
We're going to have to get you on another podcast for sure. Now, how do you help men? So any men listening to this, watching this, how do they get in touch with you and how do you help them?
Okay, well, I'm on the social medias, of course. So I'm on LinkedIn. Yes. My profile is Tam Curtis, T-A-M, Tam Curtis. And you'll find me also on Facebook, The Masculine Experience, or Tam Curtis Masculine. And I'm also on Instagram as well under Tam Curtis Masculine.
I haven't seen you on Instagram. I'm really on it, but I'll have a look now.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah.
And do you work one-on-one with men or groups?
Yeah, yes, I work. I do group development, and I can work one-on-one too. It really depends on the client and what development they want to undergo. But yes, I'll work with one-on-one with clients.
And where are you based?
I'm based in Townsville.
Okay.
So here in Australia. So yeah, but
you have a New Zealand accent.
But I have a New Zealand accent. Yes, I am from New Zealand. Been here in Australia about 10 years. And actually mostly in the teaching space since I've been here in Australia.
Okay. Well, I was going to say welcome, but you've been here too long to say that.
Yeah, been here too long.
But thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. You've given us some amazing insights, and I know that listeners to Thrive for Men will really benefit from this. And if you need to reach out, please contact Tam or myself. We can always put you in touch with anyone that you need to help you. So thank you again. And we'll definitely be having Tam on for another podcast because we've got a lot more to speak about.
Yes.
Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Thanks very much.